Thanks, Rose. Okay, hello. This is really cool. I'm trying to read stuff at the same time, so forgive me if I seem a bit weird and wooden. Okay, so welcome everyone, and thank you so much for coming to this virtual Pegasus Books poetry reading. And thank you so much to Rosalie and Chris Teese for organising this virtual event. It's really cool. I mean, obviously I love Pegasus and I miss Pegasus Books, but this is the next best thing, and it's a fantastic forum, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, enough from me. We've only got about 40 minutes tonight, so we're going to crack through it fairly quick. I'm going to introduce the readers now and then just come in and introduce them in between. So the first reader that we have tonight is Freya Daly Sadgrove. Freya says that, well, she is, but this is her bio. I'm reading her bio. Freya Daly Sadgrove is a writer and performer from Pornaki. Her first poetry collection, Head Girl, was published in February with Victoria University Press, and she was going to debut its live companion, Head Girl, the show, at Bats in April, but now she isn't. She is the architect behind Show Ponies, hailed by Ben Fagan as a watershed moment for poetry and performance in Wellington. So, welcome to you, Freya.
Thank you. Thanks, Therese. Oh, this is very exciting. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
You're good? Okay, sweet. I'm weirdly more nervous than usual. Also, I just had to run down to my stable to get my headphones. It's fine. Don't worry about that. I'm going to crack in because we're doing it. Shut up. Okay, this is my poem called Nature Walk. This mall is huge. It's like that Joni Mitchell song, except that I care less. It's like when Counting Crows covered that Joni Mitchell song. I'm walking through this huge mall in an unclean skirt and a white t-shirt. The white t-shirt has been washed, but it is still yellow in the armpits. My sister says I dress how I do specifically to piss her off. When I was a child, I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I am bad at games like Werewolf, unless I am one of the werewolves. If I am a werewolf, I just play how I would if I were a villager, because I feel guilty about being a werewolf. It feels less evil to act like a villager. For some reason, this works if you are a werewolf, but not if you are a villager. I guess I am a pretty good werewolf. If you sacrifice the other werewolves, you can convince people that you are a villager. Then you can be the best werewolf, and also the werewolves ultimately win. I try to do nice things in secret, and then I tell people that I have tried to do nice things in secret. Ursula says that my self-disgust is so performative it's self-defeating. Like I'm so self-aware that my self-awareness becomes wrong. I'm so aware that my self-awareness is wrong that my self-awareness becomes right. It's Mental Health Awareness Week. This mall is huge. Underneath my clothes, I am wearing baggy undies and a push-up bra. I can feel the baggy undies falling down, but I am doing a good job of pretending that I can't. That was poem number 1. This is a deeply strange experience. Luckily I've got a delicious bevy. Oh, thanks. Okay, cool. I'm gonna read number 2. This one's a little bit sad. Okay. Well, I don't know, who knows. It's called Wide Garden. People call me up sometimes when they want to die, but other times they forget to call me up, and then they die. Sometimes they don't forget to call me up, but they die anyway. Sometimes calling me up doesn't even come into it. My sister walks briskly past intensive care. We are not going there today. I was there on a different day, sprawled across the carpeted hospital thoroughfare, eating sandwiches with obligatory slowness. Sandwiches are a death food. Death is a pervert, but I'm a pervert too. It's crass to chew and breathe like this, given the certainty of death. I hate it when people say so-and-so passed away. You wouldn't say so-and-so passed wind. You wouldn't say so-and-so's in the fucking family way. You wouldn't, steal a handbag. But death makes little sissies of us all. The landlord knocked down the shed in Jake's garden, and now the garden is very wide. We sit in it like smaller things than we are. There are tears on Jake's face. I can tell even though it's dark. I am saying things that are true. I'm saying, call me up, I'll answer. But the garden is so wide. So wide now. Death. It is as general as physical junk mail. Imagine going to all the effort of not killing yourself and then dying anyway. The other day I passed a lady driving a van. She was pulled up at a red light and she was just screaming. She was just screaming and screaming. That's that one. How are we all going? Are we happy? Are we all happy? As happy as we can be. I'm going to read a poem called Look Me in the Ass and Tell Me That You're Happy Now. Hey, here we go. I liked our high-tech science laboratory, baby. You used to invent for me a sex in which I would faint over and over in a ballroom with pretty glass baubles hanging from the ceiling, or not faint over and over exactly, but rather travel back in time every few seconds to faint the same faint with renewed gusto. So like time and time again. I, on the other hand, used to try to invent for you a sex in which the ultimate goal was to get you to finally learn how to love. Yours was ultimately more original and more poignant. You always said mine was too on the nose, laughing as you approached climax. I didn't mind because of the large windows that I could turn and look out of. But that damn laboratory just got burned to the ground in a freak accident. We are standing in the ruin when you turn to me and say, I think this might be the right time to tell you I want a divorce. Well, I reply, I am not surprised by this, baby. I want to sound sexy and mystical and also touchingly gracious, but it comes out like a dubbed animal in a TV movie. I turn to look out a window, but of course the walls have burnt right down and the frames just open out onto the sky. Ugh, real life is so obvious. We are agreeing about this as if we are in love, when suddenly we have a terrible thought at the same moment. Oh God, what about the dogs? What about our 2 prize Italian greyhounds? It's fine. We got them in the future, it's cool. We're still young. Phew. I DM you a stock image of someone throwing a shaka, and I go home without crying. I can do this because I've spent my whole life doing Kegels, but for my eyes, and I'm just too strong. I look in the mirror and practice my self-affirmations. Hey, you are both interesting and generous, which you worked hard on, okay? You worked hard and you deserve the payoff. Yeah, I earned my millions flipping houses, but instead of houses, it was people. I always make sure I get out a little more than I put in, so I have more to offer the next one. And that entitles me to love, bitch. If you won't love me, I'll have to do some, creative accounting. Hee hee. You guys know that guy who talks about creative accounting? Guys, have I got time to do one more, or is that the end?
Yeah, you got time to do one more for sure.
Okay, I'll do one more. Cool. It's called All You People, Can't You See How Your Love's Affecting Our Reality? It's a quote from a really important literary source. Okay, I love to feel this way. I love to feel this medium way. I love to have become estranged from my menace, to have broken my vows to my menace, to have made a choice. This is not a choice. This is not a random trickle from one section of time to the next. This is a new frontier. This is space travel. And I'm so grateful for the helmet. I'm so grateful for the suit. I'm so grateful for the steady supply of oxygen and that my face is no longer pressed into the earth. But I can't deny I find myself a little disturbed by all the other floating bodies populating my newly swollen field of vision. There's a blindness too. There's a feeling of blindness. There's a feeling of feeling my way backward around a room in the dark, a room in a large house in a different city. I keep getting bruises, huge bruises. I keep falling over. I keep getting a surprise, but not the surprise I want. I want a new kind of pain, so I stop eating just to keep a little violence alive. I sense a weirdness pricking at me, but I talk over it. I talk and talk. I love to sit in a chair. I love to widen my stance. I love to put my hand on my knee and hold forth. I can never tell enough of the truth. The truth just keeps getting faster like a car filled with criminals. I'm the man chasing it, but I'm out of shape. I have to slow to a stop before I expect to have to slow to a stop. I have to bend over to dry retch as the tail lights round a corner, and I know I have let everyone down. Boy, have I been a letdown. I have dropped myself down into a very deep well, and I am standing at the top, staring in like a psychopathic child. I am watching myself falling down, down, down. The scream's getting fainter, but up here I am just watching, and there is a small smile playing about my lips. Cool, that's me. Thanks for listening to me. I'm very, very hot. Oh, sweet. Good. I can hear the sounds of just Therese clapping.
It's because everyone else has to be muted, but everyone is clapping. Yeah.
I love it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
for
Freya.
having me.
Yay. Thank you, Freya. Okay. Hey, also, I forgot, I should have introduced who all the three readers are tonight before I just went straight into Freya, who was the first one. But we've also got Chris Price and we've also got Carolyn DeCarlo. So, good. Our next reader tonight is Chris Price. Chris Price is currently on leave from her job as convener of the Poetry and Creative Nonfiction MA workshop at the IML. And she's wrangling a baggy monster, as she calls it, a baggy monster of prose into something that more closely resembles a book, in the hope that she can return to writing poems in the second half of the year. Her latest book, Beside Herself, came out in 2016, but since then she has co-edited The Fuse Box, which is a collection of essays on writing, co-edited with Emily Perkins, and an Aotearoa New Zealand issue of Poetry magazine with Stephanie Burt and Paul Miller. She is the series editor of Best New Zealand Poems, which was just launched in which has just launched its 2019 edition this week, which was edited by Hera Lindy Bird. So yeah, welcome, Chris. Thanks.
Hi there, kia ora koutou. Can you hear me? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Yes, good. Okay, so this is my Isolation Friday poem. It's a poem whose time has finally come. It's called Possession Number 33. I was dusting my head with my hair when the jaw shot out of my filing cabinet with a clack of dental castanets. Something was pulling my strings. Then my legs began to jitter as if bats were harnessed to the kneecaps. It was the ague, the grippe, the palsy, the plague, some old disease, its visiting hour come at last, had me in its talons. I will not say what I said. I'll start that again. I will not say what I said, a dangerous curse best left to rattle in my head. But finally, St. Vitus lay down and died, and I pulled him from the wound in my side and stained the paper red. That was from Beside Herself, a 2011 poem, which seems to be appropriate for today. The next poem is a little bit dark. So if you're feeling a bit fragile in lockdown, feel free to go and top up your wine during the next 3 or 4 minutes. It's a poem that just describes the process of making parchment from animal skin. And it might be useful to know that some of the tools used in that process to scrape, smooth and stretch the skin are in it. The scudder and the lunar are blades. The stump is the block on which the skin is laid in the first part of the process. And the hearse, H-E-R-S-E, is the wooden frame on which the skin is then stretched. But that process also needed a story. And so the poem takes the figure of Marsyas from Roman legend, a satyr, half goat, half human, who was arrogant enough to challenge Apollo to a competition to decide who was the better musician. Bad move. Marsyas lost, of course, and was flayed by Apollo as punishment for his hubris. One last step, because myth is always about now, the poem really gets its mojo from a long-running news story that figured prominently in the headlines as recently as 2 weeks ago, which already seems like a lifetime. It's the story of Harvey Weinstein. It's not about him precisely, but the poem knows about him and about the wave of female rage that has swept over him. So you should imagine its collective voice as female. So this is Marsyas becoming parchment, and it starts with an epigraph from Mary Wellesley. The work of making parchment is unglamorous, and sometimes it smells like the inside of a boxing glove. Now, what to make of the skin bag, the bone sack? We all agreed we didn't need another wineskin. Some wanted him strung up in the forum as a billboard for insults, rage, and warnings of future pain. But first, we needed to revise him. While it still held the whiff of the locker room, we soaked his shaggy hide in lime and slung it over the stump to strip the nap from its follicles with the scudder's blade and uncover the faint blueprint of river veins within. Already pliant, the skin would take the contours of whatever it was draped on. And as some of us were mothers, after all, we pressed it briefly to our cheeks, reviewed the baby face it still contained, then stretched him on the hearse, tied him with string and twisted the pegs till he looked like a drumskin. And we recalled the tap of his hooves as he danced, those nights when he had the pick of the most pleasing among us, the ones who needed a lift or a favour, or who, by night's end, he'd simply backed into a corner. We poured the scalding water on like washerwomen, stripped what was left of the fat with the crescent lunar, then again, until all visible trace was gone, and we could hang him out to dry in the oven room, where the smell was ever so slightly soured milk. We took him out warm for the loving last attentions of the blade that brings both pleasure and pain. If you get the angle right, the steel will croon ice music. Persephone calling through a distant fissure from the place where the god still holds her captive. Then he was ready to be trimmed. We used the offcuts to repair some ancient and neglected texts, but for the rest chose private reckoning, a book bound in a thicker, tougher square of him, where we each had a page, smooth as a milk tooth, to fill as we wished. All words and deeds by which the world had known him, dispelled, erased, made clean.
Oh, killer poem, Chris. Oh my God, thank you.
Thank you. Have I got time for one more to give you an antidote?
Yeah,
Okay.
Totally, yeah.
Okay, good. So this is a poem which I think you can imagine as being voiced by this character, who is known as the Little Witch. And the poem is called Spell for a Child to Remember. I guess it's about the way poetry and music can rescue you at times when you're in danger of capsizing. Spell for a Child to Remember. How the song will lift you up with just the two balloons of your lungs, the oxygen rush and a flame the colour of sky and sun. How the song will send you down, canary, into the pitch and black of you with only your vocabulary for a lamp and a tone halo, but you will see the mineral glitter. How the song will draw other aspirants and suspirants to the high valleys and deep gulches where you will circle wagons and post a sentry with one eye open. How the song may be a green silk bag of laughter that spills over all too easily, causing the heart to murmur later if you inhale too much, just ain't enough of it. How the stealthy fingers of the song will reach out and leave their prints on the locked gun cabinet, or the ingots buried where X marks the long lost spot in you. The grazed elbow, the split lip, the spilt milk, the little brown jug of wit and woe and will in you. The song will mop the spill in you. How the song will wait, no matter how long, how high the moon or tower, however dry the seed or flower, the song will raise you.
Beautiful. Lovely, thank you, Chris. We've got some killer poets here this evening. Right, and yeah, we're moving on to our final reader. So our final reader this evening is Carolyn DeCarlo. Cara lives in Arrow Valley with a menagerie of humans and pets. She holds an MFA in creative writing from the University of Maryland, College Park. Her chapbook, Winter Swimmers, appears in good company with Rebecca Hawkes and Sophie van Wardenberg in AUP New Poets 5, which came out not long ago, edited by Anna Jackson. Her poem, The Year I Let My Heart Go Asunder, great title, by the way, was included in the 2019 edition of Best New Zealand Poems. She is the co-founder of the Wellington-based reading collective Food Court, and most importantly, she is kind to animals. Welcome, Caro.
Hi, can everyone hear me? Cool. Just while you were speaking, Therese, one of my cats just bursted into the room. So, and I've got my new dog, Dora, right behind me here, if you can see, asleep on the bed. So, this first poem is actually for Dora. Doesn't have a title yet, so, for Dora. The gasp of your abdomen is unfair. There is no tilt more bewildering than the edge of your rib cage, the gentle ripple beneath the surface of your torso as it shrinks and swells. Sometimes I find myself caught in the interim between inhale and exhale, and I am asleep. We are asleep, and I am reaching out for you, grasping toward the shape of something that only exists in my mind. How frustrating to find a box filled with treasure that can't be opened, or to find an open box with no treasure. Feast my eyes on gems and stones. I want to go diamond mining for you. Perform open heart surgery on me to find the largest pyrope garnet, so heavy they need robotic hands to scoop it out, hot and bloody, from my chest to yours. You deserve it more. No, you deserve the best, which is more than I have to give. Should perhaps have looked at those contracts more closely before signing them, but who else can say otherwise? Feast my heart on you, my joy, and trust you to do the things the others tell me you will do. Watch you as you tear up the world. Thanks, guys.
Beautiful.
Um,
Sarah.
Thanks. I'll do two more. One from this book, which if you don't have a copy of yet, it's the AUP New Poets 5, part mine, and obviously part Rebecca's and part Sophie's too. So, the year I let my heart go asunder. Scraping into the basin with both hands, I let the waves lap against them, pushing my giant hands to and fro. The waves are gentle, and they make my hand bob like moths do when they're not being harassed by lights. I am crouched down on the bank of Wellington Harbor, and I am huge as the hills. I am squatting with my bottom on Kandala, my feet in the harbor and the water barely splashing my ankles. When I stand, I am wondrous. Get back, I want to cry out at the men in their cars and their ships and their helicopters slowly circling. Get away, don't look. I push them, but not with my hands, just with my mind. Not hurting them, but just bending them with my mind until they go. And the final one I will read for you guys is, it's one I wrote this year. It's pre-COVID era, and hopefully a reminder of better times. This one's called 11 Years Old and Barely Surviving. I am the hammer toe in your mouth, weakly throbbing, coated in your saliva. Don't push me, baby. I am close to the edge and I'm trying not to lose my head. It is summer and I can't seem to keep my clothes on. I put on a shirt and blink. It has dissolved in a sticky wet pool on my chest. Or I wade into the sea and let the tide undress me. Sand is nature's exfoliant, Dot says. I obediently coat my armpits with tea tree oil. The scent lingers beneath and I feel relieved. What luxury to stretch your arms and smell the offense of the self. It is a mastery of the human body. Nothing else could so swiftly prepare itself for death. But all this talk of stinky flesh is making me hungry. With a pear in one hand, a round of camembert in the other, set me down beside the pool and leave me to bake. It is the season of the fupa, and I'm hitting you hard with daily updates. Nothing but peeling skin and sweaty mustaches basking under a smoky sky, eyes glistening as ash crosses the Tasman. Orange is the new blue, no, the new green, and the neighbors are having another sausage sizzle. Come round at 6:30 for beersies and a guaranteed spot in the shade. All the sexy daddies are out flexing, but you can't seem to find yours. She's in the bedroom, kneeling on empty chippy packets, or lying in bed licking Korean barbecue off her fingers as her skin absorbs the cooling mist she's imported in a bottle. Conclusions are impossible things to draw. You shouldn't even try. It's not nice or polite when you do it. Stand back and let a thing be a thing. You'll only lose if you define it, and how sad to limit your understanding, your sheer enjoyment of something as multidimensional as a peach.
Yay. Beautiful. Thank you, Caro.